Greetings all, and thanks for joining us on tonight's Paranormal Pit Stop, which will land us in a privately operated Old West themed restaurant, bar, and museum located off East Houston Street in San Antonio, Texas. Recognized for its holding of one of the world's largest and most extravagant collections of taxidermy, horns, and antlers, and rumored to house a range of ghostly energies, are you prepared to brave the history and hauntings of the Buckhorn Saloon and Museum? Historically, 17-year-old Albert Friedrich, who'd served as a bartender at the Southern Hotel on Main Plaza in San Antonio, would tire of working for other men and would take up the daunting task of opening his own bar in 1881, the first version of which was located right across the street from his former employer. Upon its establishment, the Buckhorn Saloon would accept horns, antlers, and the like in exchange for drink, and through the early 1890s, Friedrich would acquire a 78-point buck, which remains in our current museum on display. In 1891, Albert would marry one Emily Durr, who would help expand his collection to include rattlesnake rattles that she would utilize to create beautiful works of art, which can still be viewed around the saloon to this day. By 1896, Friedrich was all but forced to expand to a larger, more modernized facility, which he found off the corner of Soledad and West Houston streets. And as a bit of trivia, this new haunt would even play host to Theodore Roosevelt and his Rough Riders during their stay in San Antonio through the late 1890s. When Prohibition hit, refusing to sell liquor illegally, Friedrich's business would decline, and in 1922, he would relocate and reestablish as Albert's Curio Store, which would eventually evolve into the Buckhorn Curio Store and Cafe. In 1956, the Buckhorn Saloon and the Buckhorn Hall of Horns were moved to and restored at the historic Lone Star Brewery. In 1964, the collection would add a Hall of Fins, and in 1973 would welcome a Hall of Feathers. Following Lone Star's change in ownership circa 1977, the Buckhorn collection was sold off. However, by 1997, it would be reacquired by Mary Friedrich Rogers, granddaughter to Albert Friedrich, and her husband Wallace, after which, in 1998, it would be moved to its current site, just a few blocks from its original location, and placed under the management of Twisthorn Holdings and the Buckhorn Museum and Saloon Limited. The Buckhorn Saloon and Museum remain open into the present, offering a Texas Ranger museum, an exotic animal area, a cafe, saloon, gift shop, private event space, and more. According to local legend, the whole of the site is haunted by the spirits of Albert, Emily, of various employees, and of all those who cherished it in life, alongside countless restless souls tied to its various artifacts. And across the expanse, both staff and visitors have reported eerie shadows that stalk the living ominously, encounters with full-bodied apparitions in clothing spanning back to ancient native attire, and the unnerving sensations of being watched or of being followed by someone unseen, as well as of being touched by invisible hands. Held on site is an impressive replica 1934 Ford V8 Deluxe, set up to match the state of the infamous Bonnie and Clyde's vehicle directly preceding their grisly demise, which is kept alongside a range of artifacts linked to Texas Ranger history, and those nearing said spaces have reported disembodied screaming, crying, moaning, and shouts, phantom gunshots, extreme cold spots, and hurried, ghostly footsteps. Also reported across Buckhorn are objects sighted moving on their own, instances of alarms sounding without cause, inexplicable electrical malfunctions, and accounts of doors opening and closing by themselves. Disturbingly, also held within the museum is an exhibit featuring Ecuadorian shrunken heads, and those viewing it have described rapid temperature fluctuations, whispers that emanate from thin air, and the irking feeling of being stalked. Several informal investigations of the Buckhorn have yielded orbs and strange mists in photography, high EMF levels, and multiple EVPs, and a handful of teams have reported being unable to collect complete data as their equipment seemingly malfunctioned non-stop during their visits. Lastly, the Hall of History stands as testament to the 1968 Hemisphere World's Fair in San Antonio and features a number of wax figures depicting pieces of Texas history, some of which include a Comanche warrior scalping a settler while his wife and their child watch in horror, in realization of their soon-to-be shared fates, and a Texas Ranger atop a bluff aiming his rifle at an unsuspecting outlaw. Chillingly, from the peripheral, staff members have cited these creations tilting their heads or rolling their eyes to follow those passing, and many claim that at night they come to life and spring from their displays. Even more disturbing are the number of times employees have arrived to the museum after it's been closed and locked to find various wax figures moved, sometimes quite a distance from their assigned locations. Thanks for tuning in for this Paranormal Pit Stop. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.